What's up guys? Welcome back to InvestingPH. If you're updated to other countries' stock market situation, you might be wondering right now, why the heck the Philippine index hasn't yet recovered from this crash, and why is it even going lower? Other countries like the USA is now trading at an all-time high. So that's the question that we will try to answer in this video. With that said, let's start. Again guys, to spread my videos to a lot of investors or future investors out there, please click the like button, and while you're at it, do subscribe to my channel. Now let's go on. So why is the PSE Index still far from its last market high, which was in 2018? It has been over 3 years ever since it has reached that point. Meanwhile, investors in the USA are enjoying an all-time highs in the market. I thought markets usually recover fast after a crash. Well, this actually depends on why the stock market crashed in the first place. I think I shouldn't discuss why the market crashed, isn't it? Everyone knows that it's because of the COVID pandemic. So, if it's because of the pandemic, why are other countries recovered so fast? Don't worry, we will get into that shortly. This isn't the first time that this happened in the Philippines. In the year 2000, when the Philippine stock market crashed because of the internet bubble and some political crisis, it took the stock market index 3 years to recover. Imagine, 3 years. Anyway, if you want to watch that video about the history of Philippine stock market crashes, there's a link above. I really suggest you watch this guys, because knowing history is also a good knowledge to have when investing. Going back, this isn't a new scenario for us Filipino investors. Those long-time investors who were already investing way back in 2000 are aware of these kinds of scenarios. So we go back to why our index hasn't yet recovered. One reason is, if you look at the composition of our index, heck, even if you look at most stocks in the Philippine stock market, we are really exposed in the real estate, banks, power, and holding sectors. Now, these holding sectors, their portfolio, also consists of these kinds of businesses. Now, let's explain this one by one. A lot of big companies in the Philippines are real estate, which is one of the biggest hit by the pandemic, and still hasn't yet recovered up to now. And these big real estate companies hold a lot of malls in their business portfolio, in which can still fully operate right now. Next is banks. A lot was also hit, mainly because of loan payments, individuals and firms that lost a lot of revenue, and those who have lost their job was unable to pay. Giant food industries operations was cut in half. No dine-ins during the lockdowns. Holding companies that are in the power sector was also hit because of a lot of business building holding their operations because it was advised to have their work be done at home. This affected the earnings of most power companies that get a lot of their income from those establishments. Now, mentioning the transport industry, which was really crippled this pandemic, lockdowns and travel restrictions are still ongoing here in our country, hampering their operations, affecting their income. Some transport companies resulted to acquiring more debt to survive this crisis. Unlike if you compared it to other countries, their index is filled with tech stocks that flourished this pandemic, like Amazon, Tesla, Microsoft, etc. These companies shouldered their index's growth. Also, pharma companies that right now supplied the vaccines for the COVID pandemic, and not to mention the USA giving away a huge check for their citizens. This also raised prices for companies there. Most people invested it in stocks, and they have already cleared the lockdowns, allowing businesses to operate normally. While here in the Philippines, we really lack tech stocks. We are more concentrated on the stocks that I've mentioned a while ago, and these kinds of businesses are the business that is really affected by the pandemic. So this is really not surprising that stocks here in our country hasn't yet recovered. Oh, you can mention we also had relief money from the government. Well, this is not for stimulus of the economy. These checks aren't even enough to buy a handful of companies compared to the checks they gave out in the USA. And right now, a lot of investors are still staying on the sideline because like right now, quarterly report and annual report of companies are still on the negative growth, although some companies has already recovered. But this isn't enough to stimulate foreign investors to invest in our country. Heck, I see some companies post annual reports with a positive growth, but their stock price is also decreasing. So how does this affect us investors? Well, for me, this is kind of good opportunity for me to accumulate more shares on the great companies that I've researched. And for you index investors, just do your thing and invest regularly, cost average monthly. Although we don't know how long our stock market will stay this way, but as long as you invest in great companies that you know will survive this pandemic, I think one day the stock market will eventually recover. Because again, this is not the first time this has happened. It was quoted by Warren Buffett to be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. This is the best time for it. While others are afraid to invest in stocks because they are just looking at the price, not the company itself, you go in and accumulate more shares while the price is still down because you have conviction in the companies you are investing in. You researched about it. You know they are strong. You know they can survive this. A lot of wealth was actually made during times of crisis. Like history tells us, the stock market often recovers from these crashes. And not just recovers, but it sometimes recovers massively. So just stick to your strategy. Don't just speculate. Sharing again a quote from Warren Buffett, it's only when the tide goes out you discover who's been swimming naked. This means in times like this, you see the investors who are really just speculating when it comes to investing. They are the ones who are panicking right now because they had been swimming naked, not knowing what they are doing. They are just simply speculating, riding the news, riding investing gurus without doing their own homework. So do you accept to be one of them? Do you want to be the naked ones? Or are you going to study right now about the stock market and how to handle well your money? With that said, I think that's about it for this video. I hope you guys learned a lot from this. Do comment down below what you think would be the state of the Philippine stock market in the upcoming months. Would we recover or would it take us a long time to be back on where we were in 2018? So see you in my next videos.